Hello everyone. How are you doing? I have a few different topics that I want to get to put out over the next week or so. I missed a whole week, so kind of running behind my own schedule that I make for myself, but I've had a lot going on. And today I want to talk about being human as a full-time job. And I'm going to read what I wrote first. And oftentimes when I write, it is kind of like channeling. I don't like saying that because of all of the, fraudster channels that you see out there that make a lot of money by claiming to be channeling things. And just because you get in a meditative state doesn't mean you're channeling Bashar and Theo or whatnot, or whatever trickster spirit you think you are or not channeling, whatever. But I have I don't know what you would call it, poetic license, like where, throughout history, like poets, bards, what have you, have the tendency to speak in such, sometimes a bit cryptic, and then sometimes very offensive. Even some of the things that Jesus said himself in the Gospels, which were pretty elementary compared to so many teachings that were already around by his time. So it's strange that, that religion landed there and just stayed there. But this is going to be, I will say it's going to be, to me, somewhat offensive to especially the ruling class, obviously. I mean, if you're seeing people getting arrested because they shared a quote from the president, then what I'm about to say is, technically would land me in hot water with the, fascist Nazi crap. But there is like a poetic warning before I read this, because this is more of what I know is true and what I feel in the marrow of my bones, and what everyone knows. So many people feel and know is true. Even the ones doing the corruption know is true. But it doesn't mean anyone's going to act on it or do the right thing, sadly. Not unless they're hurting enough, then they'll want change. And then after I read this, I'll discuss a lot of what I mean. But anyway, I really feel like we need to start standing up, for our autonomy, and that being human is genuinely a full-time job. It's not something that we put to the side because living in servitude under what we call a free country where they have criminalized homelessness and saying that camping causes fear and disorder. This is, it's gone far enough. So I really would prefer to just be teaching spiritual things and teaching wild medicinals and doing tarot readings. But if I don't speak on the corruption going on and where we are dying out as humans, I'm not doing my part as someone who is a healer, because I want to do my part in healing the planet. So I'll just read this and then we'll talk about it some. Can't win in a system rigged against you. While we may tear this one down, another will be birthed if we do not understand the matrix is many dimensions, and the universal codes are set up against us. It is not the 3D nor nature that is the fraud. It is even the very heavens that both cover and prop up our current reality. Everything was created by love and for love, but a virus has infected the universal codes, and creation has been under attack by antimatter, anti-forces for eons. What I mean by that is all of the things that cannot exist without feeding off of life forces that have connection to source. All of us that are born on this planet, from the trees to the bees to you and me, we naturally have life force within us as we exist. But there's many beings throughout the universe that cannot exist without feeding on something that has source energy in it. And I don't know what else to call it other than like antimatter. When you hear terms like antichrist or whatever, I really do feel like It's not one person or one thing. It's countless beings that are like anti-earth, anti-human. It is only love that strengthens us for the battle before us. Love is not weak. It is not afraid to take lives, collect heads or scalps. It is not weak, flaccid thing we've been groomed to believe. What do we all think when we hear the word love? Be kind. Kindness isn't being good, okay? Nice isn't good, I should say. Genuine kindness, it should be. But we think that love equates with letting yourself be used and abused. Let's just face it. A lot of the things we're taught in our religions, if we were to implement those things, ignoring the fact that Christ said you should, kill yourself in the ocean if you harm a child. Like, no one's going to do that. Obviously, they won't. So, we have this really hyper focus on the turn the other cheek and, oh, he opened not his mouth. I mean, what was there for him to say at that point? He opened his mouth so much. He caused so much hate and derision and division. So by the time he was going to be crucified, he was done. He already said his piece. It doesn't mean that we let people run over us all the time. We've been taught that love is weak. I'm sorry. But that's why when people think you're a nice, kind, nurturing person, let's just say that word, keyword nurture. When they see you as a nurturing woman, like in my personal experience, men may have experienced this too if you are nurturing, they mistake that for you being a gullible, stupid idiot that they can do anything to. And a lot of people don't even do this consciously. They just think that you're a fraud, that you're faking it. They don't believe there's any goodness out there. And so our whole society is based on like a fake reality where you fake niceness and everyone is out to get each other. Let's not, beat around the bush anymore. Let's not ignore the elephant in the room anymore. Okay, let's see. For Christ's example of love was to temper the easily shaken brute, whom saw violence as the answer to every dispute. Yet men perpetuate violence in countless other ways today. Forced servitude, forced taxation, poisoning the earth, our clothes, our food, and our water for profit, while sick care is unaffordable for more profit. This is all violence. So anytime someone says you're inciting violence because you want to stand up to the corruption, we need to remind them they are the violence. Like when Trump says, letting homeless people be on the streets is causing fear and disorder, like he is one of the root causes of fear and disorder by perpetuating what BlackRock, he's total patsy for BlackRock, okay? And you can look this up in business news articles. It has nothing to do with conspiracy. It has nothing to do with an opinion. He's so far up CEOs' asses, he actually asked CEOs to show him how to be a president in his first term, okay? So he made CEOs richer than ever in human history during COVID. And he's only making it worse. And that's violence. That is causing disorder and it's causing fear. Because people cannot handle the burden that is being put on them. We were not born to be in servitude for the rich ruling class. They're talentless ghouls feeding off of us. Okay, let's see. Love knows when to crush a skull and when to save a life. Love knows how to scoop up the abandoned babe and nurse it to health, while hunting down the rapist and turning him into fertilizer. I think of some of the really old, Hindu teachings and things. There's so many books from that era and that region of the world that I have yet to get to dive into. And I have loved so much of what I've read so far. It doesn't have the polarizing mentality that the Abrahamic religions have. Yet it does acknowledge one ultimate creator. And I love it. So there's so much I can learn and teach from Christ because of my upbringing, though. So that's why I refer to that so much. I'm trying to think of what was it that I was thinking. Like, it may be in Buddhist too. Like, there's a lot kind of in both, but there are these certain beings that are supposed to be fierce protectors of your dharma and your purpose. And these beings are not necessarily bad, but the things that they do to us can be so harsh that we can mistake it as evil. And while there are certainly beings, powers and principalities that are exceptionally evil, and they do exceptionally dark things, and they twist our fate and our path to keep feeding off of us, there are other forces that will fiercely protect the path that we truly should be on. And those things, they're not afraid to take a scalp, okay? They're not afraid to crush skulls. They will do whatever it takes to get you where you need to be, because there are certain things that need to happen that they understand is for the greatest good. Okay, let's see. Back to what I had written. Because we have abandoned love, love and grace refuse to be fierce protectors of the land. We have become lowly, cowardly servants of the rich. We all think there is nothing we can do because every choice is wrong. We are told not to expect handouts from the government after the rich exploit us to breaking points. That those, that those who have, like the haves versus the have-nots, expect those of us that have not to help ourselves. But helping ourselves is criminalized at every turn. In nature, animals take. They do not ask permission. The haves in human society do as well. They make the laws and they set the prices. It's the have-nots that if they help themselves, they're imprisoned. They're fined, they're shut down, they're deported, they become bankrupt. When Christ said we must learn to be shrewd as a snake, innocent as a dove, he knew we would have to slither undetected or fly over the chaos to survive. The duality is built into the virus of the codes. If you're really where you need to be, there is no duality. Everything is from the inside out, and there's harmony and balance. But this duality is created intentionally. The Hermetic philosophies perpetuate it. It's this idea of black and white, good and evil, up and down. And they have an obsession with keeping themselves up and us down. And we've got to end this duality at some point. But again, it's going to have to happen from the inside out. And if you can learn how to control your energy, you can actually almost hop through the codes. And I might explain that after I get through reading this. But if you can't do that, you need to learn how to slither beneath situations or fly over situations, because what's going on right now is so corrupt, it's almost impossible for us to survive in this rigged system. We must learn to live between the codes. Society demands that we give until we break. It's so ingrained in us that even being aware is wrong. Rewiring our programs to re-regulate the nervous system and turn off the chronic diseases that plague us is a feat in itself. This tyranny is cultural conditioning by the ruling class, who pay themselves far more than they are worth, regulate the simple man to death, and call it a free market. The behavioral issues in our children stem from us not being present, first and foremost. Secondly, it takes a village, but the village has been replaced with industrial institutions. Thirdly, our leaders set total shit examples. Lastly, most all adults have sold out to some extent and thrown any freedom fighter, anyone with independent thought under the bus to keep the pecking order. I write so sloppy when I write fast. To keep the pecking order established by the oppressors. A survival mechanism, but it is wrong. How can your kids respect you when they see you bend for the wicked and gleefully break those who are virtuous, true, unique, or innocent? And let's just face it, so many parents do. They watch their parents lie and betray what they know is true for survival, for money. I watch my parents do it too. My words sound strong and filled with what most avoid. I am only preparing you for the coming days. Embrace dramatic changes and fight evil. Sometimes what we perceive as negative is not. And even when it is, we get extra grace in those times. Expect miracles And when things get challenging, the magical wave of energy that overrides the codes come in like a flood when we are true to ourselves and our purpose. And I put on a note down there of the single mom grace that I always kind of like so grateful for, that I noticed over the years. Like, if I have people in my life, but they have really, really bad karma, like, the last partner I had, which, I know we've all kind of had them, but where it's so bad that you're like, I'm never going to be with anyone again. When I was with him, it was like all the grace I had went out the window. Like, and granted, I had another ex that was probably doing black magic, because for some reason he thought it was a good idea to go get cemetery dirt in front of the kids. And it was just, I don't know how to explain it, but the stuff that I have experienced is eye-rolling how irritating it is. But it's like everything would start breaking all at once. Like, I had to get a new hot water heater and a new stove and a new fridge, all in the short time span that we were together. And I had so many cats die, and I mean, so many things were happening. But I've noticed that whenever, like, I could go on. There's so many more things happen. But whenever I have, like, this single mom grace, as I call it, there's still a lot of things that are really hard for us. Like, there's still tons of things around my home that need to be fixed and whatnot. But, like, we're making it. And I've noticed that whenever I have this, when you go through really challenging times, it almost seems like you get this wave of this magical protection that only lets things go so far. And if you looked at it from more of a universal standpoint, because a lot of people like to look at just universal energy, it has to fill in spaces and voids. Like, you can't have a void. So that's why, you remove one thing, it makes space for something else. Well, when you have, like, a lot of challenges, it's like there's a void where the peace would be, or where the security or comfort would come from. And so it has to be filled with something, like some form of grace. And there's people around the globe that go through way harder things than any of us could imagine. And you wonder how they can get through it. And of course, a lot of times they can't. But when they do, it's because it's like there's this coating of grace over them, almost like a force field, that helps them to get through it. Do I think it's right? No, because a lot of the stuff that we're going through is unnecessary, and it is because things feed off of our suffering, and we've got to be able to stand up to it. I guess the reason why I say that is because with the Age of Aquarius coming, and Pluto being in Aquarius right now, we're probably going to topple this country, almost no doubt about it. It may take several years, it may not, but I definitely don't think things are going to be the same around the globe by the time Pluto leaves Aquarius. And I think it is preparing us for the Age of Aquarius. I think it's also going to expose a lot of the frauds that are trying to ride the Age of Aquarius like it's some sort of a magic carpet ride to, I don't know, like AI and endless gold. Like, they just see Age of Aquarius as gold and money and dollar signs and artificial intelligence, and those people are going to get a rude awakening, because usually Pluto will expose the frauds. So we've got that. But I just feel like even if we were to topple the systems we have now, we're going to keep repeating the same mistakes that we have, civilization after civilization, if we don't face, like, what's behind the curtain. And I do feel like maybe that's what the Age of Aquarius is for, is for us to teach people how to see what's behind the curtain, to see between the coats, to look beyond the surface level and the physical realm. You have so many people hyping up that, oh, this is a virtual reality, and the other dimensions are just other virtual realities, and nothing is real, and things glitch, and the more they do psychedelics, the more they can prove this reality isn't real, and yada yada. But yet they believe the other worlds are more real, and they swear it is. And I do want to do an episode on the next episodes I really do want to post are on the psychedelic experiences I've had, and some that have been like life altering, and then also on the night terrors, sleeping paralysis, out of body experiences I had, long before I ever even started doing any psychedelics. So, because I have a perspective too. I have a view too. So, I don't want to see us fight to just topple our government just for us to replace it with another form of tyranny, because at the end of the day, it is about being accountable for ourselves from the inside out. And too many people have allowed the ruling class to terrorize us, and we're not going to get out of jail free for that. Like, way too many, I'll say in my culture, Christians, will be like, oh, well, this world is temporary and we're supposed to obey the law, and one day we'll go up and we'll be in peace forever and we won't have to worry about this anymore. And it's like, but you let this happen. It was on your watch, and you sucked on your pacifiers, whatever those pacifiers were. You were just sucking on your passy, rather than making yourself uncomfortable enough to try and make a change to make the world better for the future. And I feel like my boomer parents are that perfect example, because they had like the peak of the efforts that their parents and Gab. Oh my God! There's the psycho cat. A creepy cat. He's just one of the weirdest cats. Like, we had rescued some cats right before COVID, and I got them all fixed and things, but we couldn't get them adopted out. Long story. They're community cats, like feral cats. She was a kitten, but she's a weird one. She's really weird. I don't know. So, here's the thing: is like, if we were to not take accountability for the fact that we let this happen, what do you think is really going to happen when you die? I'm sorry. I really hate that religions have taught my parents that you just get out of jail free when you die because you got baptized. So because they have done some shit that they think they're just going to get away with. And it's like, holy crap. Like you have to actually pay the karmic consequences, for you to allow the planet to end up in this situation and think that you aren't going to pay for your crimes. And so I, in good conscience, my whole life, I felt so shamed and guilty. And this is not from the conditioning. This is just my conscience yelling at me. Like, even now when I work in retail, and it's just so much disgusting, cheap crap. Like, when you have a whole aisle of just Febreze smells and weird chemicals lopped up, and people pay a lot of money for chemical slop that they want to make their house smell good, when you can just as easily go to the bathhouse in Coldarium, like in downtown Hot Springs, that is all essential oils, and it's all real from the earth, and it not only smells amazing, but it actually soothes your body rather than these chemicals that give me a headache. And it's like, I just can't feel good about it, there's so many times when I thought, well, I can make money doing this or doing that, say, entrepreneurial stuff or whatever. Anything that seems remotely too shallow, it's like I would just feel wrong. And I know, now, there's no excuse for not being educated. I want to do a playlist at some point, but there are so many videos out there about the destruction that we're causing around the globe, from the dyes in our fabrics causing exceptional neurological destruction and pain to people in other countries, to, the pesticides and whatnot. And I feel like, people like my parents who wrote off, I mean, my grandparents had it fucking hard, okay? They had it hard. They had the bags under their eyes like Anne Frank when they were little kids, because, you had the Depression and then you had World War II. So by the time my grandfather grew up and got through the Depression, skinny and starved, he had to go to, war, and was drafted. And then my grandmother, that her family had tourist courts during the war, and there was rations, and everyone was trying to hunker together. And it was just, she told her tourist court story so many times, as she, started to develop dementia. And you can tell, like those things looped in her head because she was traumatized from it, And then here my parents are, the spoiled boomers that got bachelor degrees and they think they're hot shit now. And they look down on everybody. And they somehow destroyed their kids. Like, me and my brother were broken. I mean, you would have thought we would have had every reason to succeed. Because we grew up in upper middle class. There's moments when we had, like, what was it? 1, 2, 3. It's like, we had 3 to 5 bedrooms. The 2 living rooms, the den, the living room. I have the dining room and the separate kitchen. 2 of the smaller rooms is my mom's sewing room, my dad's study. 4-car garage. My mom had a Volvo. Dad had his vehicle, his boat. That was so long he couldn't get it in the garage. I mean, because he was an oil man, she was a microbiologist, and it was like, we grew up in the upper middle class, and I will tell you now that I feel like the upper middle class is the most destructive people right now, because they're propping up the ultra wealthy, and they have zero empathy for those of us that are struggling to pay the bare minimum. Like, I'm poor right now, and I had to walk away from that family because it was just so toxic, And it's like the mass consumerism and the insane people that you see on social media that have, like, they're delusional consumers. That's upper middle class. It's like it's splitting, like where middle class is becoming poor and the upper middle class is like delusional as fuck. And they are, to me, just altogether evil. Like, completely evil. Like, consumed, like, possessed by materialism. And what I meant by, like, I feel like we need to get deeper in with, like, say, the codes or whatever. It's like, everyone wants to refer to our universe as being made by these codes and whatnot. And in a way, it's true. Doesn't mean I want you to ever see nature or the world around you as not real. I hate it when people say that, because it is so real. It is so real, and we're so blessed. And I've noticed the most things that mess with you is going to be in the man-made world. Now, if you were to go out in nature, like like hiking, and you hear about strange disappearances and things, that does seem kind of like, like the Fae, or like some kind of weird stuff going on. But there's so much less drama overall in nature. Whereas if you're in the man-made world and you have, like, time constraints, because that is one way that they get you. Well, what happens? Everything's gonna go wrong. You know what I mean? Like so many things are gonna go wrong between you just getting up and having breakfast and getting dressed to go, and them being on your commute. Because of all of these constraints, there's so many things that they can do to cause you to glitch out. And if they can get you to react negatively, they feel like they've won. And then if you don't react negatively, this is why I say the law of attraction in a way is a load of shit. It's not that it's not true. It's just that it's a tiny piece of a bigger picture. And I know I've told people this before, but there's many hermetic laws, not just one, and I don't really buy any of them. All they were trying to do is explain the unexplainable by trying to put the universe under a microscope and make it palatable. And it doesn't make them the authority. It just makes it kind of like, scientific method. It's just one way of viewing things. And they do try to abuse and manipulate it, and that's fine, whatever. Do you, boo. But the problem is, like, when you have these time constraints and these things come at you and start messing everything up, And even if you choose not to have a reaction, it infuriates them because they're hungry. And I've noticed oftentimes those of us that are the kindest and the most patient and the most enduring. And I mean, I've said this before too, but I mean, I can take some hits. I can take some fucking hits. I have been hit so many times. I mean, psychologically, spiritually, physically, financially, where I'm used to getting hit over and over and over again and having to get back up. Sometimes you just get worn out and exhausted, and that's when you're probably going to break down and cry or something. And that's what they will do. It's like, if you refuse to be reactive, if you refuse to give in, like the average everyday schmo who is like complete tool, they cannot handle not having something to feed off of. So they won't stop sometimes until they can get something out of you. So being good, being positive is not always the answer. Even gray rocking, it drives them insane. And that's one reason why I feel for people that fall for the law of attraction crowd and listen to all of these people like the fake Abraham Hicks stuff, and why? Because they kind of cause you to victimize yourself, but yet they act like you're not, because if so, you're negative. So don't victimize yourself. Let's repeat all these positive things and believe all of these positive things. But what they do is they actually somehow manage to chisel down your walls and your barriers and your intuition and your ability to sense what is good and bad for you. And you start thinking everything is just whether you're being negative or positive. So you start like trying to force yourself to be positive all the time. And in the process, you're so busy self-blaming yourself if you're not positive enough. And it makes you so vulnerable because you want so bad to see everything from a positive lens and you have no armor on. And so you go out in the world and you try to be positive and be positive and be positive. And these powers and principalities will allow you to get enough good stuff so that you think it's working, because they get so much better supply that way. You're not manifesting, it's not working. It's they're preparing you for a fall so that they can feed off of the juicy morsels of your tears whenever you have one trip. You trip over one stone and you fall on your face, and they are just like lapping up your spiritual blood, your life force. Okay? And I'm not saying that you should be negative or not be positive, but what I'm saying is the duality again, where they make everything extreme, is it's what they want. If you're giving these powers and principalities that are bad what they want, then they're going to reward you enough so that you keep doing it, but then they're still going to want to hurt you because they need to. I know I had listened to some crazy nut who thinks he knows everything. Oh my God. I can't remember who it is now, and I don't really care to know. And I know he was talking about how like there's this certain like kind of universal kind of code thing that's like, if you don't trust, that means you have fear, which means you're kind of tagged as a problem and they'll start going after you. And I'm like, okay, first off, there's no reason to trust what is corrupt, because that's exactly how our government sees us. Like, if we don't trust them, then we're the problem, right? Well, you can't trust something that hasn't earned your trust. And trust doesn't equate with fear. It's only if you're like afraid that they have more power over you. But if you have autonomy, you don't have to. I mean, Jesus didn't trust anyone. But was he full of fear? Apparently not. So how does that work? And the same nut was saying like the universe had to learn how to love from us. I think it was the guy who wrote The Big Toe or whatever. I don't know if it's the same person that said the other thing, but I think it might have been. And because I remember talking about the book over and over again, Big Toe, Big Toe. Everyone loves it. Religious people love it so much more than their religion. La, 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 la. And he consistently talked like he had all the answers to the universe. And I kind of like to oftentimes, critique myself and say, look, I don't know everything. And it would be good if I was wrong. Because those who do think they know everything often are you know, like the more you know, the crazier you get sometimes, you know. But he was saying like the source of all things had to learn how to love, and he was a really angry God in the Bible. But humans taught him that he had to love and can't force us to do things and stuff. So it learned it from us. But the way he was going about it was like the way so many men with this giant ego, they do this. They put the creator under a microscope, and they're finite version of the creator, okay? This is what Hermetics does too. They put the finite under a microscope and they poke at it and they pick at it and they're like, oh, I've got you figured out, bitch. I know exactly how to control you. It's like, no, you don't. Like, you're such a tool. You're a fool. You think you can control the divine and the infinite with your finite mind. Like, just shut up already. And, you know, like, we taught the creator how to love, is what he thinks, okay? He doesn't call it creator. It's just this source thing that happened to exist. I don't know. But I don't think this guy is absolutely bonkers, right? Which I do want to get into that with my psychedelic experiences of how I actually really genuinely did see how, and like everything is created by love and for love. And I'm like, so the universe, you know, the source energy didn't learn love until like the Old Testament days of the Bible, even though like we go back like how many hundreds of thousands of years they have traced humanity to, and then I don't know. And that's just on Earth, right? Apparently, you know, we taught him a lesson. So that's great. I feel like I'm rambling, so maybe I should wrap things up. But I know like this whole time, like I keep on going down my, you know, queen of rabbit holes here, but I really want to be able to teach people before, you know, I die, whatever. Hopefully someone else can if I was gone tomorrow. That even if we change the way systems are physically, we have to actually learn how to change the systems in the spiritual realms as well. Because that's really what we're here for. We really are here to actually be able to intertwine the physical with the spiritual, and how to take autonomy and authority and to guard this place and protect it. It is a great place for us to develop, for us, our souls to evolve, so we're not just in this expanse of nothing or in some, you know, simulated heaven where everything is handed to us, so that you never really learn how to cope with things or your core values or identity or how you handle challenges or anything. But the beings that feed off of us and our pain, and they're allowing the ruling class to do what they're doing. Like, until we were to get rid of them or cut them off or starve them, things are not going to change long term. Like, they have, and another video, the one I do want to do with the night terrors and whatnot, it's like, once something dark latches to you, it wants more. It wants more of you. It wants to feed off of you. And it becomes very, very hungry and starved when you don't give it supply, and it becomes dangerous. And I do feel like a lot of the upheaval we have going on is because, oh, Sam, hold on. So many of, oh my God, you're so bossy. You can handle it. I'm almost done with this one, girl. Good Lord. Hey, don't step on my books. No. Love you too. Okay, I'm gonna lose my train of thought. I'm already having a hard enough time staying focused today, okay? Like, my thinking is like, I know I wanted to go here too, so if I get choppy, just bear with me. This is me. It's who I am. I wanted to hit this point kind of behind what I was already saying, which is like, oh God, it's too much at once. Like, I'll brain fry myself. I will fry my own brain. I'm so sorry. Okay. So these things that feed off of us and are using the ruling class or whatever, I feel like it's really imperative that we really challenge and question all of the things that are incoming and claiming to be good for us. Okay. Whether it's Pleiadians or the Nordics or all of these beings and entities. Now, I'm not saying you should just write everything off and be completely distrustful, but I'm saying things need to earn our trust. and I respect. And even then, you're wary. Because it's just like, say, even like where I work, like I think it wasn't even too long ago where I mentioned that I was grateful that my boss stood up for me. But, it only takes like a couple more days. And of course, there's going to be red flags everywhere. And you realize that your boss might be a psychopath, and it's like, just because they're good to you now doesn't mean that they will be. And it doesn't mean they have human or the earth's best interest in mind. And the reason why I say that is, like, if these things are hiding in the shadows, they are not good. Okay, only honesty can come out in the light of day. Only those who are honest and genuine and true to themselves and to others have the freedom to be able to just walk out in the light of day. If things are hiding, if things are avoiding us, if things are trying to kind of pop in and out, but don't want to actually walk with us in the broad daylight, they're up to no good. And if they do finally come around after watching and stalking and everything, they have the upper hand because they know everything about you and about us, but we don't know shit about them. That's all manipulation. That's all corruption. That's all evil. And nothing about that sounds good to me. And it's like, I feel like so many beings and entities, no matter the dimensions, or if they come from quote unquote another, I don't know, constellation, whatever, right? You don't know if they're telling the truth or not, first off, if they say they're from Pleiades or whatever. And secondly, like, how do we know that these aren't the things that have been feeding off of us to begin with? Our life force energy. How do we know these aren't the ones responsible for our pain and suffering? If they've been sitting on the sidelines not allowing us to be free, and they're watching us being controlled and corrupted. And you'll have so many of these starseedy experiencers explain why they won't interfere. But these same people will justify having experiences where they're taken up in, ships and they're probed and they're being told is for their own good. And I don't know, they justify really negative experiences and make it sound positive because they're just so lonely within and they have no relationship with their maker, so they're constantly searching for sources outside of themselves to be filled. And I just feel like we are going to have to get to the point where we understand the creators in us. Mother Earth and Creator God, they're in us. We're one with them and our ancestors. And if we take the authority that is our birthright, we need no interference from outsiders. We need no help. We need no support. And we certainly will not let things feed off of us, which we've been doing for way too long. We as humans have not been teaching our own children or ourselves how to say no to being fed on. And for us to actually learn how to tune in to taking in the energy of the earth ourselves. And that's why we're all sick and crumbling right now. I don't know. There's so many things I could say. There's so much that I could teach. And I know that I will sometimes go off all over the place. I will say that you probably should. I always kind of like to challenge people, right? Before I get off of these. Maybe not all the time, but when I'm doing teaching. Challenge yourself to study. I love doing this. Study the energy around you. Study the energy of people and yourself. And learn how to identify when people are trying to take energy from you and when people are trying to use you or they're focusing on you. And kind of learn how to play with that energy so that you can have autonomy. Learn how to take back. Turn it on its head. I don't know if I could give an example is say I work in retail, so I deal with so many different kinds of personalities. And so you have the big macho alpha that walks in the room and before you even look up because he sees you and he immediately is oh, I want some of that, trying to suck up your life force energy. With me being empathic, I've so many times I can already feel someone that has a certain weird vibe, before I even see them. And when I say alpha, I don't really think that these men are behaving the way they should for quote unquote alphas, or we wouldn't be in this situation where we're not free. But they're just alpha in the sense of, oh, well, they're the buck with the 10 points or the 8-point buck who thinks he's hot shit and is going to go around strutting and then wanting to claim territory. And it's like they have learned, you guys really should study this. How many men actually think they have the right? Like, even really annoying, sloppy, non-self-aware men just naturally kind of demand you focus on them and demand that you give them attention immediately and demand they get what they want immediately. And they have no patience, and they just give me now, focus on me now. And they get really whiny and bitchy and temperamental if you don't. And some of these types, it's like they know that they're, oh, I'm an alpha and, you know, I'm hot shit. So they have this energy, but yet somehow certain, like, people make them nervous. I don't know why. Like, I'll end up making men nervous. And they just focus on you. But that's also kind of, I also think that's kind of part of their game, you know? It's like they almost want to play vulnerable. They're trying so hard to play vulnerable even though they're a predator. They get all nervous, their cheeks turn red, and they act like weird. But the whole time it seems like they're trying to focus on you without looking at you and pull in your energy. And you can feel it. It's so gross, okay? So I've gotten to where I can just practice. It's kind of easy to just turn it on his head and flip it. And the only way I can describe it is almost going in between the coats, where it's like, you know, like, I'm not going to flip it and take his energy. I'm going to actually flip it and feel all of the forces in the room above and beyond and below that person and take from them and pull in. And I actually can pull in his energy too, but I'm taking from everything in the situation and I'm pulling it in, and then I end up having more energy than him in the end. And when I did this to one person, because I was checking him out by the time he really tried to do it, I noticed some men's energy is so strong, I can almost feel dizzy and weak, like he's siphoning from me. And it's so gross. And I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I'll just do this instead. So I just flip the script and I just start taking from everything around him. And it's like, you could feel him being like, how did you do that? Like, no, I'm supposed to be able to feed off you. I'm the predator. And it's like, not today, boo. And it's so easy to do once you learn how to do it. I know, like, one of my exes was creepy. He was like that, but he was always really sneaky because he's more beta. So he would kind of like test the waters. Can I get away with acting like a charmer? And then he might try to pull in with certain people. He wouldn't do it to just anyone. And it's like, whenever I gave into that stuff, it's because I wanted to, because I genuinely love someone. But when men try to do it to a total stranger because they think they're hot shit, it's irritating. And sometimes they're so loud, you can hear them, you know, I think I've said that before when I've been in Walmart and I flat out can hear someone projecting like, you know, you want me. And I'm like, huh? And then I turn around behind me, or they walk past me and it's like, you know, some gym rat. And I'm like, ew, like, ew. Did you really seriously just walk around telling people that? You know, it's so gross. But, anyway, I feel like no matter like who you are, what your sex or what have you, you know, you need to practice having control of your energy. And granted, there are certain men who absolutely love already having control of their energy and pulling in energy from others. Not always very bright, not always very intelligent, or can, you know, get very far in life. But they've just instinctually learned how to try to manipulate energy. And I have very loud energy because I have that Scorpio ascendant. And I have to really watch out about that, because I can tell very easily if I just am repulsed by anyone, or anyone grosses me out, or I don't want to be near someone. Like, they can feel it immediately and it hurts their feelings. So I have to really watch my energy so that I don't hurt people. And I've just noticed that some people, like, you know, they deliberately do like try to control the energy around them. And I feel like maybe, like, I feel like all of us should be practicing having control of our energy, both in, you know, not being ugly to others, but also how to not let others harm us. And the reason why I say that is because even though there's so many forces in between all of us, humans are easier to see the actual evidence that you're getting good at it. You can feel it, but when you see the evidence of it along with feeling it, it kind of helps you use those psychic, spiritual, energetic whatever you want to call it, muscles, which is what we need to learn how to do. We've been taught so much in my culture to be afraid of that, to not focus on that, to not be in touch with telepathy or psychic abilities or energetic exchanges. And that has made women so vulnerable, because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but most of the time women's energy is very, very, very quiet. My energy's loud, which I don't like, because I feel like people can spot me a mile away. I can be quiet sometimes, but I have to really work on that. And or I'm in la la land, when you're your own little world and you're super like dreamy. But if I have any static, like it's obvious. But like men are usually a lot louder energetically, because they've, in our culture, they're allowed to. They're allowed to want things. They're allowed to demand things. So they have loud energy. But just because women have quiet energy doesn't mean they're good, and doesn't make them safe. And so that's something that I've had to really learn the hard way, because so many women that have quiet energy and even soothing energy. I've been around women that have very soothing energy because they really have regulated nervous systems until it's not, and then they flip the fuck out. But those are oftentimes very, very dangerous too, because just because they have calm energy doesn't mean that their mind is not, scheming, right? So anyway, I feel like if we're going to learn as a collective how to actually change things, then we're going to have to focus on our energy with each other. And you can do it with nature. You can do it with, you can even do it, like I do this a lot. Like when you start noticing things trying to get to you, and I'm sure some of you have done this too, you can play with that, like see what happens if you respond energetically in different ways to certain stimuli. And that really has helped me hone in a lot of my energetic skills. And I know we've got to be able to teach our kids to do this. Our kids are so good at it, ironically. Children are amazing at it, so are animals. We usually just beat it out of them, which I do not want us to be doing anymore. And so I guess I'll wrap things up. I know this is so long, and I have so many more things to do today. I will say that, it is kind of want to go at being human as a full-time job. And I know I didn't get into all the juicy details of it, but I guess, that, like if you were to cook whole foods and grow whole foods and prepare them and spend quality time with your family and take care of your body and have self-care, like true cleansing baths and using essential oils and taking, like, we really need to be like massaging our bodies or doing stretches and things, so that we can really have self-care of our temple. And all of those things, it really is a full-time job. And so if you're putting all of your effort into making money for the ruling class, but you're not taking care of yourself or your family, like that's a disservice to all of us. And to be honest, the rich dumbasses, it's a disservice to them too, but evil is stupid. So they know not what they do, because they just need to feed off energy. It's not about money. It's just, that's just the root that feeds the energetic siphoning of us. Because really, we would be more effective workers if we were working out of our overflow rather than from lack and from being starved of any quality of life. We should be working so much less for the public sector than we are. Doesn't mean we shouldn't be around each other. Doesn't mean we shouldn't contribute to a better society. But it should be secondary to self-preservation, which is how, that's natural. For us to put self-preservation and taking care of those we love, and I mean spiritual and our soul level self-preservation too, because if we're just trying to pay the bills but we're not working on our soul, like you're not even learning the lesson you came here for, or doing your purpose. So you're screwing everything up. And if we can't even work on our own personal life because we're too busy just trying to make sure we can pay our mortgage or whatever. Oh no, she's going to start barking. No, not, okay. A tornado drill is like every week here. Anyway, I really think that, like, when are we going to wake up and realize that, I think a lot of us already know it. We know that this is wrong. We know that being human is a full-time job. You want to go out there? Go get him, Sam. I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Now I'm going to have the husky dog serenade. I don't know if y'all can hear it or not. I've got to record it at some point. It's hilarious. She barks and then like Moose is like oh my god, I needed a barking dog, so because my husky would not bark, but now he just cries with her. This is such a long drawn out video, or I don't know, podcast too, whatever. I'll talk to y'all next time.